Hello. Welcome back to Radio Free IV. So if you've been following along with these videos I've been making and the arguments that I'm really trying to have, I view the purpose of this channel as reconciling the difference between being a good person and having good political beliefs. I think there are a number of things that really affect how we view politics, and why for so many people who are good people and who believe in good things and who do good things if given the opportunity, why they still vote for politicians who are bad. And so today I'm going to compare two politicians, Xavier Becerra and Tom Steyer, as the California gubernatorial election closes in and gets closer. And I'm going to discuss how you should be evaluating politicians in general, how it is that you can see through the nonsense, that really crowds out the political discussions that we ought to be having. So to start, there is a famous quote from FDR, and it goes like this. Well, I don't remember which speech this was in, but he basically says, "They are unanimous in their hatred for me, and I welcome their hatred." He was referring to the industrialists, he was referring to the capitalists, he was referring to the powerful in society. So when it comes to evaluating politicians, that is the number one thing that we should consider. Who is against them? Who is against them? Now, in the case of Mr. Steyer, unfortunately for both Californians as a population, but also for people who want to make informed electoral decisions, unfortunately, Steyer has a lot of enemies, and those enemies are spending lots of money to muddy the image around who Tom Steyer is and what he wants to do as governor. So I'm going to head over to not the issues page here, but I just think we should pay a bit of attention to articles like these, right? You see PG&E spends millions against Tom Steyer, but it's not just PG&E. You've also got, you have Chevron as well, just as well, spending millions and millions and millions. Outside money shattering records, outside groups reported spending $79 million so far, and billionaire Tom Steyer is the biggest target. So at the end of the day, I know there are people who go, oh, well, Tom Steyer is a billionaire. I don't trust billionaires. Why should we have a billionaire as a governor? Look what having a billionaire as a president does, right? And I see those criticisms, I do. But in reality, billionaire is not the operative thing that we're looking for, okay? It is not like all of our politics are so bad because we kept electing billionaires, and now we have to stop and never elect a billionaire again so that our politics will be good. In reality, billionaire or not, the issue with our politicians has been that they don't care about you. They don't care about their voters. They don't care about making the world a better place. They don't care about making your life better. They don't care about improving society. Which brings me to my second point. Actually, hold on. Before I get to my second point, I do want to discuss Xavier Becerra as well. Interestingly enough, Xavier Becerra doesn't really seem to have many enemies except for Tom Steyer. When it comes to Steyer versus Becerra, you see a lot of attack ads going back and forth between the two, where Steyer will say, oh, well, Becerra is compromised, there's corruption issues, Becerra is not progressive, Becerra is backed by Chevron. That's Steyer, an enemy of Becerra. But when you look at Becerra, who are Becerra's enemies? Where are all these groups organized to spend against Becerra? Because it's really interesting that the oil and gas lobby finds it necessary to spend against Becerra, that real estate finds it, or to spend against Steyer, that real estate finds it necessary to spend against Steyer, that AI companies find it necessary to spend against Steyer, that Uber finds it necessary to spend against Steyer. Who is spending against Becerra? And the answer, unsurprisingly, is nobody. Because nobody... Unfortunately for us, the powerful in this state and in this country more broadly, but in this state in particular, are aligned behind Becerra, because Becerra isn't going to do anything. Which much more nicely brings me into my second point, which is, what are the policies? Okay, politicians aren't just like influencers. Politicians aren't just people who have to say the nice words and make you feel good. Politicians ultimately are people who hold an enormous power over your life and over what you can do with your life. Therefore, when you're looking for, oh, should I vote for this politician or should I vote for another one? What you really ought to be considering is, well, what are they going to do if I do vote for them? What are their policies? Which brings me to another really illustrative point about the difference between Steyer and Becerra. Back to the browser here, and let's look at Tom Steyer's issues page, okay? Look at this. Now, this reminds me of Bernie Sanders in 2016 and 2020. Both campaigns where Bernie Sanders had a number of different issues, policies, a number of different solutions to the problems that we face. Bernie Sanders, Medicare for all. Bernie Sanders, Green New Deal. Bernie Sanders, he even had a plan to revive local journalism. Show me politicians who have plans like that. And the reason that you can't is because these politicians don't care about you. It's very simple. Again, they don't have any enemies in power. And then they also don't have any policies that are meant for you. What else can you conclude from that except for that they don't care about you, that they are not going to fight for you, they're not going to do anything? Tom Steyer, build 1 million homes you can afford, make corporations and billionaires like me. See, notice that he's able to say, I'm a billionaire and I want to pay more taxes. Keep California the capital of film and entertainment. Yeah, whatever. Free education from pre-K to college, lower gas prices. So his plan, let's actually expand on this one. His plan to lower gas prices from what well, I mean, it doesn't really matter. The particular of it, I didn't really find it beforehand. I didn't prepare it. But my point is that Steyer even has if you've seen the debates, Steyer proposes that in light of these rising gas prices, we should impose a windfall profits tax on oil and gas companies. Now, windfall profits tax is a tax that is imposed in a time where a company, through no right of its own, through no industry of its own, through no efforts of its own, is making more money. So for gas companies, when the price of oil goes up globally, gas companies make a hell of a lot more money. And what are they going to do with that? The same thing that they do with the money that they have. Nothing. Steal it. Fucking put it in the Cayman Islands. Put it in under a mattress. Buy gold. Go to a certain island in the Caribbean. That's what they're gonna do with the money. Meanwhile, Californians are suffering not just from the high gas prices, but from the pre-existing issues in our economy. And somehow, only Tom Steyer has plans to address this. Now, this is not to be a glazing session of Tom Steyer, because I have some reservations about Tom Steyer. Not many, but I do have a few. But let's compare now, okay? See, because I'm able to talk about Tom Steyer. I'm able to talk about his issues. I'm even able to say that I agree or don't agree with some of the things that Tom Steyer says he wants to do. But let's look at Becerra. What is Becerra's issues page? Look at this. Who is Xavier Becerra? Well, that's not really my question. My question is, what will you do? So I don't really care about any of this. He's just giving you his resume. Oh, I was in Congress. Oh, I was in Attorney General, blah, blah, blah. Why is he running for governor? Let's read. Californians are facing an affordability crisis. Homes and rent are too expensive. People can barely cover their grocery bills, and healthcare costs are too high. Javier knows what it's like. He's not a billionaire. His parents came to the United States with $12 in their pockets. Again, where is the policy? California's next governor must understand the challenges families face and have a proven record of making the state more affordable. Where is your record, buddy? What have you done? As HHS secretary, you made the state more affordable? How? That's not even an argument. Why Javier? Javier's a billionaire. He's not a billionaire. He's one of us. Javier has experience and a proven track record. He knows how to get things done and knows how to take on the Trump administration and win. Javier has been endorsed by blah, blah, blah. Again, where is the policy? This is not a video game, okay? This is not some, conversation with your friends where you just go, oh, I'm smarter than you. No. You have a job to do, and your job is to pass policies to make people's lives better. Javier doesn't even pretend to have that on his agenda. And the reason is because he doesn't, okay? So we must be very clear-eyed. We must be very realistic with the situation that we face. We do not have the privilege of saying, I would like to vote for, the candidate who matches up with me perfectly. We have the privilege, or we have the responsibility, rather, to say, I have options. What is this candidate going to do, and what is this one going to do? Tom Steyer is telling you what he's going to do. Not only does that mean you can hold him accountable, but that means you actually have an idea of what kind of a leader, what kind of a governor he will be. Becerra doesn't even want to tell you. Now, isn't that damning? Isn't that damning that he's unwilling to say? Now, imagine, you're a teacher, right? Imagine you're a teacher, okay? And your kids, you have these two students in your class, they're siblings, okay? And usually they get picked up by their mother. But today, for some strange reason, their uncle is coming. And you go, oh, wow. I'm not used to you being here, but, the mother did call and of course you can take the kids. Well, where are you guys going after school? I don't know. Huh? You don't know where you're taking the kids after school? So what's the plan here? You're just going to drive until you reach a Burger King? We need a governor. We need politicians who have the basic respect for the population to tell them what they want to do. That brings me to my third point, because again, I'm saying that Steyer has policies and Becerra doesn't have policies. Steyer is this and Becerra is not, right? But let's get to the third point: how to understand politics. Judge me by my donors, okay? Politicians are not ever in any instance independent. That doesn't exist. Politics as a pursuit, as a field, requires a large coalition. It requires a lot of people to come together to back you, to push you, to support you. And in that context, understanding who supports who is a very important part of understanding what a politician represents. So that brings me to Becerra. Let's take a quick little gander over here at Becerra's endorsements and Steyer's endorsements. As a matter of fact, I don't even think Becerra has an endorsements page, which, it's just a shame. It's just a shame. He genuinely, he doesn't even care. He doesn't care. Well, Becerra doesn't have an endorsements page, so I can't really show it to you, but I'll show you the Steyer endorsements page. And you see this: California Nurses Association, California Teachers Association, what is this one? California Federation of Teachers, United Domestic Workers, IATSE, so this is the production union for Hollywood, North Coast States Carpenters Union, hell yeah, California School Employees Association. I mean, you see, these are people, these are human beings, okay, who work every day, who work with their hands, care, what is it, the Council of American Islamic Relations. And all of these endorsements, the Jane Fonda Climate Pact, you see how these, Our Revolution, which is Bernie Sanders' group that he launched after his 2016 campaign, all of these groups are ultimately representatives of human beings coming together, people who go to work, people who have paychecks, people who do not have thousands and millions and trillions of dollars in the stock market. These are real people, unlike Becerra. And Becerra has endorsements, sure. I mean, I think he's endorsed by like Planned Parenthood. I mean, there actually was a little bit about that on the site here. It was right sort of towards the end. But Becerra is clearly and transparently unwilling even to disclose who supports him. And why is that? Why is that? Oh, it's no secret. The reality is that Becerra is supported by some very unsavory characters. I mean, and you see here, State Council of Laborers, California Faculty Association, among others. Oh, who are the others, my friend? Well, the others just so happen to be the very same companies that are trying to end the world with AI, that are trying to turn you into a cattle, into a peon, into nothing, trying to take away your ability to express your opinions, your ability to even think for yourself. They are trying to destroy what it means to be human. And they're backing him. Interesting, isn't it, right? But that brings me to my final point, because this conversation about donors and things like that, it is, it gets bogged down. And one of the things about donors as well, outside of the context of this race in particular, and supporters and enemies, the reason that I started with judge me by my enemies is because who opposes a person is more indicative about what that person represents than why they oppose them, right? Because let's say, for example, let's say I'm very, very fond of this very small nation in the Middle East, size of New Jersey, very small nation, okay? And let's say a lot of politicians begin to, express their discontent or discomfort with supporting this country, right? I have two options there. I can either say, on the basis of that support, on the basis of that lack of support, I can say you're a bad person because you don't support my favorite little country, okay? That's what I could say. Or I could get real cynical with it, right? And I could say, let me look through every single tweet you've ever tweeted, and let me find any instance of you saying anything that's somewhat disagreeable to anybody at all, and let me write 85 articles about that, and let me smear you in the public, and let me pollute the information ecosystem with nonsense. And my reason for saying that you need to focus on the enemies is because looking at who is propagating these messages will always tell you much more about what these messages are about than what the messages are themselves, okay? Because, I mean, in the case of Hassan Piker, right, people will talk, oh, he shocks his dog. Those people don't care about animals. Those people don't care about human beings being slaughtered en masse in other countries. Why would they care about one dog? They don't. But they're using that as a way to communicate to you emotionally, to manipulate you emotionally, which is why we must be aware of who we are fighting against. Which brings me to my last and final point. And on this point, I have criticism for both Steyer and Becerra, as a matter of fact. What don't they say? What don't they say? Now, again, the job of a politician is a very serious job. It's a very important job. And it is a job that when done by those who are either cynically uninterested in actually improving conditions for their own constituents, or when done by people who have different constituents, let's say, for example, billionaires themselves, right? That is when, we sort of run into issues. We run into these situations where now we have a billionaire who's actually the better candidate running against a non-billionaire who is backed by all the billionaires. And it's an interesting situation, yes. But what we can do in this situation and in all situations, and I hope I'm making these points to where they can actually apply more broadly to politics and not just the California gubernatorial race. But what do they not say? What is missing? Now, every single person watching this video, every single person who is going to cast a ballot in an election, I guarantee they have things in their lives that matter to them. Now, one of the sort of magic tricks that's been performed on the voter base over the last 2 or 3 decades maybe has been convincing them that the things that improve their lives are bad, the things that don't improve their lives are good. So in reality, when you walk outside, let's say when you go for a drive, obviously having low gas prices is beneficial to you because then you spend less money on the gas more broadly. But is destroying the planet beneficial to you? Is setting the whole planet on fire? Are rising global temperatures everywhere beneficial to you at all? No. They're beneficial to a very small group of people within our society. They're beneficial to a very small portion of people. However, because those people have successfully, through these exact channels that I'm mentioning, through these things that people are not effectively evaluating about their politicians and about their politics, they've been able to manipulate the debate, manipulate the political circumstances, and continue to destroy the planet, despite the fact that I think we all want a planet, right? So what you really need to focus on is, what do they not say? And so when I say Xavier Becerra doesn't have issues, and that frustrates me, it's not just because I'm a very, politically active person who has very strong opinions on how the state should be run and what sorts of things that we should have to improve our state. But it's because when they don't say that, that tells you a lot about what they care about. How could you possibly, let's say you care about human beings, okay? Now, how could you see tens of thousands of people slaughtered and just go, stuff happens, man, it's rough out there, dude. No, you're a bad person. You're a bad person. You're a bad person because you do not say the things that a good person would say. It's very simple stuff. It's not remotely complicated. And believing and pretending that it's complicated is exactly how these politicians are able to continue to ascend to higher office without ever doing the work of actually making a point, of actually having policies, of actually representing people. And that's all to say. That's all to say. Everyone watching this video, if you make it to the end, please, for the life of me and everyone that you love, vote for Tom Steyer. Because quite frankly, we will have a future under Xavier Becerra, but I don't think it's a future any of us want to experience. Xavier Becerra is uncommitted to improving the conditions for working people in this state. And you can tell because he doesn't even pretend he is. You can tell because those who fund his campaign, those who back him, are not remotely aligned with the interests of the majority of Californians. You can tell because Xavier Becerra refuses to say anything ever. Xavier Becerra never talks about what he wants to do as governor. Xavier Becerra never talks about how he will improve the state. He will just go, my record speaks for itself. My proven track record of fighting against the Trump administration. He's always fucking posing. He's always posing. That's all he ever does. And he pisses me off. It pisses me off because we deserve better than that. You deserve better than that. I deserve better than that. And every single person in this state deserves better than that. And the idea that we will settle again for another politician just like Gavin Newsom, who over the course of his entire governorship has done some good things, sure, but never fought as hard as he should have for the things that he should have been fighting for, has never, ever decided to take a risk and take a risk for our sake. That is no politician. That is no politician worth voting for. And Xavier Becerra is just the same. He is not a politician worth voting for. And we should reject him. We should reject him wholeheartedly. Because if we don't, we are risking not just the consequences of what will happen as Xavier Becerra is governor, but we're risking the consequences of having people not believe in our political system. We're risking the consequences of what happens when people vote and vote and vote and vote and vote and nothing ever happens. And I don't think that's acceptable. So when you're looking to understand politicians, please, give this little checklist I made a bit of consideration. I hope you find it helpful. And I hope everyone who's in California or whatever state you do happen to be in, hope everyone has a great time voting for their next governors. But ultimately, we do also have to understand these politicians will not save us. We can only save ourselves. But the most important thing, the most important weapon in that pursuit is the knowledge that you have, is the understanding of the world around you. So we must understand the world, and then we will change it. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen because of me. It's going to happen because of you. And it's going to happen because we care for one another. It's that simple.
I want to be at the RNC. I want to see Patricia McCloskey.